Hey YouTube, so I've got this G660, a clone saw of the Steel MS660, and uh, on the control lever where you turn on the choke and the fast idle and turn the saw on and off, uh, it's been really sticky. So I just bought mine like a month or two ago, so at the start of 2024, and I've read a bunch of different fixes for these issues where it won't go to fast idle. And mine actually does go to fast idle because I have this extra little metal piece in here, and evidently all saws don't have them. So anyway, one of the fixes I've seen is to add this little 3D printed shim in there, and that maybe helped a little. It basically just, so this is all taken apart at the moment, but it basically just, reinforces the rod there so it, it doesn't flex around as much. I've seen other people saying over here on this lobe to cut a little groove across there. So mine did not have a groove. I've also seen people saying to go around and sand some of the areas on both the control rod and the trigger and safety switch areas where they interact, and that maybe helped me a little. But honestly, so there my choke is on, and now if I put it up one notch to fast idle, if you look down in there, the throttle blade is being held open slightly, but it's actually being held open by, well, can't actually get an angle there, but basically there's this little metal piece behind the actual choke rod, and this little metal arm off the throttle butterfly comes back and interacts with it. So it's this piece right there, and that's what controls my fast idle. So it falls into a little detent there, and then when you pull the trigger, it falls out of that and the throttle blade totally closes. So that seems to work now on mine. And the problem I've been having is that as I go from, well, and so here I'll show you. So there you can see it's still open in there, and now it's closed after I pulled the trigger just slightly. So anyway, the problem that I've been having is going from choke here up to fast idle. And so I have now modified this to make it easier to do that. Like, I just felt like I was gonna break off the end of the control rod here before. And so what I did is modified this piece over here. So you can see that this cam engages with this metal spring back in there. Get a little more light on this. And the metal spring basically goes about halfway, or the plastic cam hits the metal spring about halfway down this vertical surface here. And so when you're taking it off of choke into fast idle, that spring has to ride up over the lobe of that cam. And so what I did is, right from more or less where that little rib comes out right here, I filed down the top of that lobe so that this spring doesn't have to travel up as far to come off of choke onto fast idle. And I also rounded this front edge here a bit, just very lightly, and then kind of cleaned up the edges of the front face of that cam, just because it's not molded very well. And that has made it much easier to go from fully choked like it is now to fast idle. Like you can see it, like it bends slightly when I'm taking it off, but then it clicks over real easily. Actually a little easier than going to the off position. So anyway, it seems like all the parts are different, you know, depending on when you get them and what batch you get, but that's one thing that I have found worked well and is possibly worth trying. Now you wouldn't want to take too much off the front of that cam to where the spring wouldn't rest against it anymore. Then you'd have a hard time keeping it on choke. But you know, I took off probably about 1/16 of an inch at the front edge of that cam. Let me get something to point with here. So at the front edge of this cam here, where it hits the spring, I took it down about 1/16 of an inch and tapered it back to about there. And that's back to the original surface. So anyway, give it a try.